River City Live, a big week. The kids go back to school. So yesterday, St. John's and basically other areas. I think today, Clay. So everybody's back,
right?
yeah. Everybody is back. They're busy, and maybe parents get a couple hours of not having kids. Maybe, I don't know.
Who's celebrating? Oh, moms.
Some people are celebrating for sure. I was a little more verklempt, if you will, than I thought I would be, just looking at everybody's back to school pictures, because this was the first year that we didn't have somebody going back to regular school. You know, we're empty nesters as of this coming weekend. So it was hard to see a little bit, everybody with their little, backpacks.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you now get annoyed with Facebook with all of the pictures of kids? Or do you think it's cute? Or you're like,
You know what? I don't
Sticking
let
up your feed.
Yeah, no, I don't let myself get annoyed. I didn't spend a ton of time on it just because it was making me so sad. But one of my friends had a great picture of her son. She went and posted this kindergarten picture of him. He's a senior in high school now, and she posted the kindergarten picture, and he was holding a Pirates of the Caribbean lunchbox. And her husband goes, I still have that lunchbox in the garage. I put some tools in it, and so he went and got it, and they retook the picture as a senior.
Cool. That's pretty
it was
funny.
great. It was
That
great.
is cool.
So that made me cry more, of course.
If it was my kid's lunchbox, there'd still be like a half a sandwich in there a decade later.
Old and oh, gross.
Wow.
But with your kids going to college, I mean, when the college option came up, were you were adamant?
Yeah.
They didn't have a choice.
They didn't, and here's why. I came from my dad being a college professor and my mom working at the college, so it was one of those things where it wasn't really even discussed. It was just kind of like, this is what's next.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have friends, probably more so than I did at that age, that have opted not to go to college or take a gap year or not go right away, which I guess would be a gap year. But that's become such a big thing now. Like, companies are putting together these entire adventures for kids who just aren't ready to go.
Yeah, and everything is shifting, and there's a reason why. So you have the millennial demographic, which means basically you were born in the 1980s to the 1990s, and then underneath that is the Gen Z, so even younger than millennials. And one of the big things that's happening, kids, they're not necessarily getting the value of a college education. So they're racking up tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, coming out with a job that's not necessarily paying that much more if they didn't go. So it's a lot different, because I feel like when we went, there was a little bit of a stigma and pressure to go. Now there's different ways to get an education. It might be night school, it might be, junior college after a year, and then from there you transfer in, but there's different routes, so it's interesting how that whole thing is going. But student debt is one of the big reasons why people are like, does this make sense for what I want to do?
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
I wish I would have come up to my folks and I'm not going to school because I'm doing this for you,
Right.
To save your student debt or what. And they would look at me, my folks are old school East Texas, would not have been a very pleasant conversation.
no.
It's interesting too, because with my family, my dad was first generation to go to college, and my mom and dad have been together forever, basically since they were like teenagers. So they had to figure out a way to make it happen, and he did. He took classes all over, then he finally got into school, and then he went on beyond that. So, but then there was a different path. Then I built, the next generation, it was like, no, you go 4 years and that's it.
And that's it.
And what people are finding out is, well, what am I prepared to do? So
So
it's
it's just a little
yeah.
bit different than it was. I mean, it's just not a foregone conclusion anymore. I know that there are some people who get into a workplace scenario and they're like, oh, you know what, I can advance my career staying right here where I started in high school.
Yeah.
Really?
The other thing I
That
say too is
happens.
trades are on the rise. People are being more aware to go back to trade school and go into that industry because it pays well. There's great benefits, so yeah.
And it's pretty much a steady job
Definitely,
compared
yeah.
to some of the other options that are out there.
Something else that's going on with students and teens in particular is a rise in the need for glasses and corrective eyewear. Why could that be, you ask? I think it seems a little bit obvious. It's a lot of screen time.
Yeah, almost too much screen time. The average teenager spends about 26 hours a week on a screen, and sometimes it's an iPad and sometimes it's a little bitty phone. So just the whole case is just up quite a bit. I think it's more than doubled in the last 10 years of teens that need glasses. So that is pretty scary.
And Eden, you watch movies and television shows on your phone.
I do.
Do you have to wear your glasses when you...
I have to, okay. I have readers now, yeah. But let me ask you a question. I'm sure that is causing an issue with the teens and their glasses. But how much of it too is now that the teens can't see their screens, they're maybe a little more willing to say, hey, I can't see, take me to the eye doctor.
Yeah.
Before, when it was just like the chalkboard, was like in my day,
I don't know,
you maybe didn't say anything right away.
I
But if
picture
could-
you at home watching TV, but you have the glasses where your eyes are gigantic. And you're just sitting there with your coffee,
I wish I had them with me right now. I'd put
binging
them
on Netflix.
Let me tell you right now, I have one contact lens in that's a reader, and that's it. I just wear the one. So I don't have it. But if I did not have it, I would have readers down here, and I'd be watching a movie like, okay.
I just,
The
whenever
weirdest
you
thing.
say that, I'm like, why not just stream to your TV or, get a tablet?
Rance, I don't know how to use my television. I don't know how to use the remotes. We have so many
Most people
remotes.
do, and you find a little, like, I don't know, corner of the room, if you will, or corner of the house to
Yeah,
watch
I have
things.
no idea how to make my TV work.
Our
with my
producer,
phone.
Abigail, says she does that. I will say that I often walk up on our director, Ryan, and our EP, Justin, and they're on their phones watching stuff, and I'm like, dude, can't we just get a little bit more screen?
At home, if I'm watching TV, usually my 4-year-old will come by, grab the remote, and be like, and change it, like no matter what.
like,
Yeah, it's like he rules the house, and then I do what you do. I'm like, just grab a device and go stream this elsewhere.
For me, somebody changes the channel, I'm like, good, I've been waiting for someone to come and do that. I don't know how. We have 3 remotes for every television. It's crazy. Why do we have that?
Well,
Why do we need so many?
It's complicated these days. You got to go to school for that.
gotta get a universal remote, so.